It's on.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good afternoon, distinguished guests, respected senior officers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. If we can all take our seats, we will now start our afternoon forum. Thank you everyone. So welcome back. And it's often a challenge to have an intellectual session post-lunch, but I will try my very best to keep the momentum of this symposium going. For this half of the day, it is my privilege to moderate our forum entitled WPS Foundation for Defence as part of this inaugural Malaysian Armed Forces International Symposium for 2026. My name is Colonel Dr. Sophia Ann Murray. I am an oral and maxillofacial surgeon currently serving in the Armed Forces Hospital in Kuala Lumpur. I must admit, when I was first given the task to moderate, I felt that this topic was quite foreign to me. However, I had to learn more, and at first glance, women, peace and security sounded just like any other policy-driven or even abstract. Some may say feminist. If I were to go a bit more further, a liberal concept. I'm sure that many of us here, and especially the gentlemen, are asking themselves, what are they doing at a women's forum? So however, I think after this morning, I hope that all of us have learned that WPS is not a women's agenda, but it's being increasingly recognized as a critical component that directly affects mission effectiveness, operational adaptability, and also strategic success, thus meaning it is relevant to all of us. And like the first speaker noted this morning, this is no longer a question of whether WPS is relevant, but it is about what are we going to do to implement it. And to help us understand more today, we have three highly distinguished speakers who will guide us through this topic from their own unique perspectives. This 75 minutes forum will begin with Colonel Dr. Siti Nordiana Dola, who will help us ground our understanding by addressing the fundamental of what is WPS. We will then hear from Brigadier General Dr. Norma binti Haji Samsuri, who will take us into the operational space and share with us what WPS looks like in real-world military context. Finally, we have with us Brigadier General retired Datuk Fazila Abdullah, who will provide us with institutional perspective, examining where WPS fits within the armed forces and why it matters at a strategic level. Following their 10 to 15 minutes presentation, we will then move on to a short moderated discussion and subsequently open the floor for questions. So kindly prepare your questions. As we listen today, I invite all of us to consider this, that WPS is not new, it is not isolated, so how can we embrace and effectively integrate it to the way we lead, plan and execute our operations in defense and security? With that, let us begin by introducing our first speaker. Colonel Dr. Siti Nordiana Dola is an experienced psychiatrist and currently heads the Department of Psychiatry at Tuanku Mizan Armed Forces Hospital. As the first and only female psychiatrist in the Malaysian Armed Forces, she is driven to pave the way for greater representation and to ensure that being the first is never the last. This passion has caused her to be recognized with the appointment of Vice Chairperson for the Malaysian Armed Forces Women Development Committee. As an early contributor to the drafting of the Malaysia's NAP on women, peace and security, she continues to champion WPS awareness, training and also advocacy within the Malaysian Armed Forces. She also uses her expertise in psychiatry to contribute in research and training in mental health, military well-being and gender-related issues in defense and security. With that, it is my great pleasure to invite Colonel Dr. Siti Nordiana Dola to kick off this forum.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sofia, for the kind introduction. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Distinguished guests, speakers, senior officers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. So it's actually a great opportunity for me to be here today to share the basic of the WPS from the Malaysia Armed Forces perspective. Okay, so I guess we are already digest this Women, Peace, Security 1325 UN Security Council resolutions. So I don't need to have explain more about this, but what I want to highlight here is that this UN Security Council resolution 1325 is the landmark resolution of how to call us basically to have a greater meaningful participation of women, um, protection from violence and abuse, prevention of conflict and harm, and also to have a deeper gender perspective in peacekeeping, security, and also recovery effort. Okay, the pillars of WPS, as we have some brief overview this morning, Malaysia has a little bit difference of pillars, which is where we put the perspective as our first pillar. So the first one is perspective, the second one is prevention, the third one is participation, and the fourth one is protection. So come into deeper WPS in defense context. So for the perspective pillar, it is basically we're looking at the ability of the institution to see more clearly by integrating the gender perspective into every aspect of planning, training, decision making. Actually, we will gain a broader understanding of the current modern operating environment, the population, and the potential impact of its action. So perspective is not only understanding the theory, but also it is about improving the awareness, the perspective taking of the decision quality. Okay, the second pillar is about prevention. In military context, this is closely linked to discipline, integrity, and command responsibilities. A strong professional culture help to prevent the misconduct behavior, abuse, and also breakdown of trust. And this is very important because discipline and trust are directly linked to the unit question, and this is where the operational readiness develops. The third one is participation. When we talk about participation, again, it's not about the numbers, it's not about the percentage, but it's about the ensuring the capable personnel are able to contribute meaningfully to the leadership, planning, and also capacity development of the organization. And from a defense perspective, this is about optimizing the talent and also strengthening the capability of the organization. The fourth one is the protection. So this refers to maintaining a professional and safe environment within the institution and in operational setting. So it reflects the military ethics, professionalism, and also credibility. A force that cannot maintain a safe and disciplined environment risks undermining both internal integrity and also external trust. So we come to the most concerned question, is WPS relevant to Malaysia defense context? So when I started to involve in WPS agenda, it always the question about relevancy. It's about the question about do we need to do this because others do this? So I would like to bring you to go deeper on, rather than asking about is WPS relevant, let us understand why do the policies exist. So I think everybody know that the policy exists to help the institution to function at the best, to create order, to define authority, to set the standards, to guide the decision, to protect the institution, and to support the mission effectiveness. If the policy is meant to keep the institution fit the purpose, then WPS help us to identify where policy may need to evolve. Okay, so when we question about is WPS relevant, I would like you to answer the question behind it. When we look at certain policy, we go deeper by asking who are we planning for? Who may be affected differently? What are we not seeing? Where are the institutional blind spots? And do we need to evolve or to maintain the status quo? Okay, let's look WPS from leadership lens. Okay, the policy default is basically developed by the majority group of people for the majority. So they're always the blind spot. The minority needs are often overlooked, and until the problem arises, then people start looking at, oh, something is missing. And this is lead to naturally, defaultly, we are relate this minority needs as the weakness. Different needs of minorities are seen as a weakness, and the different approach of this special group of people needs often seen as special treatment. And when we talk about change, we are focusing more on anticipate loss rather than focusing on what are the expected gain from this evolution or changes. And if we look all these matters from the leadership lens, we will be able to understand people better. We can plan more effectively. We can lead more inclusively, and the institution can operate more successfully. So now, when we talk about military operational tempo, we are facing the different landscape of operational tempo. So it is faster, it is broader, more complex, and also more dynamic. So as mission broaden, military awareness must also broaden. If the operational tempo has changed significantly, should the policy remain fixed or should we evolve with the times? So I think I'm in trouble because I speak very, I prepared a slide very few, so I'm gonna get more questions. So let's make it longer a bit. So basically, what I want to highlight in this topic is that it's not about asking how is the WPS is relevant or what WPS could make a change for us, but the real question is whether our current system or policy remain fit for purpose. So as operational tempo increase, as the operational landscape change, the blind spots matter more. So with the current operational tempo, which is faster and more complex, the mistakes can be amplified. So the blind spots become bigger and matters. Okay, with that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Diana. We will move on with the following speakers and then we'll take questions at the end of the third presentation, yeah? So next, I'm happy to introduce Brigadier General Dr. Norma binti Samsuri. She's a respected senior officer from the Malaysian Armed Forces Royal Medical and Dental Corps. She's a dental public health specialist who has served the Malaysian Armed Forces for more than 30 years at multiple clinical, operational, and also administrative posts. Currently, she serves as the Dental Director of the Malaysian Army Westfield Commanding HQ and is also appointed as Secretary and Executive Committee member for the World Military Dental Association from 2018 until now. Now, despite being a dental officer, she was entrusted as the first Malaysian female commander for the Malaysian Medical Unit deployed to Western Sahara in 2008. This experience trusted Dr. Norma into the world of WPS and opened opportunities for her to speak at many platforms, including the United Nations Department of Peacekeeping Operations, and also lecturing at the Malaysian Peacekeeping Center on topics pertaining on women conflict, human rights, intercultural management in peacekeeping operations, gender roles in humanitarian assistance, and many more. Her vast experience and advocacy in this field has earned her the appointment of chairperson of the Malaysian Armed Forces Women Development Committee. However, above all, she is a proud wife, mother to 4 children, and grandmother to 2 grandchildren. With that, let us hear from Brigadier General Dr. Norma on her topic, what WPS looks like in real operations. Please welcome, ma'am.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. So I think this afternoon is quite sleepy for most of us. Okay. Today I will be presenting on what women, peace and security WPS look like in real operation. Okay. This briefing is not about theory alone. It is about how gender perspective, meaningful participation, protection measures, and inclusive operational planning directly affect the mission outcomes. In the Malaysian Armed Forces, WPS is increasingly relevant because the environment in which we operate are complex, population-centric, and demand credibility, trust, and access. So the focus today is simple, not WPS on the paper, but what WPS delivers in the practice. Okay, I think everybody now quite familiar with this. What is WPS? Again, WPS was begin in because of the anchor of the United Nations Security Council 1325 in year 2000. So this is the foundation, a global framework that not I learned a new also, not integrating gender, is inclusive, what we call it, bringing the gender perspective into the WPS. Okay, as you all know, Malaysia became the 114 country to adopt National Action Plan. Last year, it was September last year, we, what we call it, managed to launch during the ASEAN Summit. Okay, the most important thing, success measure in operation, not only in policy. For the Malaysian Armed Forces, we is actually on the way to implement the military policy, and we hope by end of this year or what we call it, third quarter of the year, we have the Armed Forces policy on WPS. And then will become the, what we call it, policy for the Malaysian Armed Forces. Okay, we do hope with what we call it, the support of Chief of Staff just now and the Chief of Defence Malaysian Armed Forces, this policy will become a reality. Okay. So from the start, we should understand WPS on operational capability and not a policy requirement, because when policy is still undergone what we call it, to be discussed, in implementation, we do have implement WPS in our daily context. But we don't mention WPS those days. I remember usually we mention gender perspective, gender equality until formally we had our Women's Development Committee, which the first chair was Brigadier General Datuk Fadila in year 2020. That's the first mark of our chapter. Okay, translating policy into the military practice, I think this has been discussed by Dr. Diana. So this is actually the most important pillars in the NAP. You know, different country have different NAP. So usually they have participation, protection, prevention, and relief and recovery. But in Malaysian context, we put perspective as the first pillar because we want people to understand what is actually PS. Then we can integrate or being inclusive in the operation and planning. So what we did just now, we purposely have this plenary during the opening remarks because we want our command, the higher echelon, to understand what is WPS. It's not merely a woman's things. We want them to hear that WPS is something inclusive. Okay. Okay. What WPS look like in the Malaysian Armed Forces operation? I give it. What we call it. Put it in 5 points. So the first one is actually women are operational enablers. This is true because a lot of women in the Malaysian Armed Forces being in the health service support, like in the medical, what we call it, core, the logistic, the signals, and as well as the engineer. So they usually serve as commanders, the medical specialists, and the peacekeeper. This is actually very important because these people are the people that usually deployed to treat the vulnerable population. The second one is supporting the maternal and child health, and also what we call it as the what we call it cybersecurity expert. Okay. The second one is actually when you have the woman in the Malaysian Armed Forces deployed, they usually have access and trust in community. This is especially important in many environments. Female personnel are able to engage directly with affected women, children, and vulnerable groups in a way that male personnel may not be able to do as effectively as compared to the female. This improve communication, broaden engagement, and enhance the quality needs of the assessment. For example, in evacuation center or humanitarian setting, female personnel may be better placed to identify specific protection, concern, family level vulnerabilities, or culturally sensitive issue that might otherwise go unreported. In operational terms, the means WPS improve access, legitimacy, and understanding. It allows the force to see more, hear more, respond more accurately. That's why women in operation should be understood not as a symbol of inclusion, but as contributors to the mission execution. Okay, the third one is actually a protection. This is actually to highlight the safeguarding the vulnerable protection is not an abstract concept. It means integrating civilian safety into operation, establishing temporary shelter, for example, in the flood victim area, okay, and putting in a place measure to reduce the risk of gender-based violence. This is especially important in conflict zone, also displacement environment and disaster setting where insecurity often increases. Fourth one is relief and recovery. it actually emphasizes women in humanitarian assistance and disaster relief leadership. Women contribute not only as responder, but as coordinator of stabilization, relief effort, and inclusive recovery planning. This matter because recovery is more effective when it reflects the actual need of the full affected population. The fifth one is actually peace building. Okay, peace building highlights women as peace builder. Women often play essential roles in building trust, restoring legitimacy, facilitating dialogue, and supporting community problem solving. In fragile environment, social cohesion is critical, and inclusive engagement helps strengthen the cohesion. Taken together, the present across the full spectrum of operation usually we can rebuild to sustain the stability, the what we call it, the mission. Okay, what are the operational values of WPS in the Malaysian Armed Forces? Okay, if you can see from the slide, the most important from a commander's perspective is because it is clear that the operational value of the WPS is not only integration, it's also inclusion. Okay, the first value is better intelligence. When engagement include a broader segment of population, commanders gain access to more complete information. This include perspective from women, families, vulnerable individuals, and local network that might otherwise be missed. Second one is a stronger cooperation. WPS improves civil military coordination and help operation run more smoothly. Trust and understanding between the force and the community can direct affect freedom of movement, information flow, and support to mission objective. The third value is actually a mission acceptance. A force that is seen as inclusive, responsive, and credible is more likely to gain acceptance from local population and host nation. This matter greatly in peace support humanitarian, what we call it, deployment, population focused mission. And then the fourth one is fewer blind spot. With the operational value of WPS, we can decrease the blind spot. Without inclusive engagement, commanders may miss hidden threats, vulnerable groups, and early sign of instability. WPS helps produce more complete situational awareness. Finally, it enhances the effectiveness of the deployment. We will get better intelligence, a stronger cooperation, a greater legitimacy, and fewer blind spots naturally contribute to higher mission success rate. So the message on of this slide actually is WPS strengthen the operational performance, and it's not ethically sound, it's military useful. Okay. What are the challenges in implementation of the WPS? Okay, despite the benefit, the implementation of WPS still faces a number of real barriers, and this slide present them clearly. The first is actually requirement quotas. We have actually 10% limit quota of female personnel, which actually limit constrain growth and reduce the available talent pool. If we limit the entry, we limit long-term operational capability. The second is cultural perception. As just now, General Lisa Brown said just now, traditional assumption may restrict deployment opportunities or narrow the role women are considered suitable for. This can prevent the force from using qualified personnel where they can contribute most. The third is limited senior representative. This is actually very important because, yeah, maybe we do have the limit what we quota recruitment, but the most important thing is actually in the decision making level. Okay, this is very important because if it's when women under presented in the upper level strategic and decision making role, the institution lost diversity of experience and perspective at the highest level. Okay, the fourth challenge is a career advancement pathway. If access to certain operational role remain restricted, career progression also become restricted. This affect not only individual but also the institution leadership pipeline. We do have the what we call it small study, and we found out that 30% of the women officer um, they most of them quit the army at the rank of major and lieutenant colonel. This is true so because this is my middle manager. When we ask, it's not they don't like being in the military. It's just the environment not conducive for them to continue their career. Okay, the fifth one is actually integration deficit. WPS is not built into the system yet. It remains dependent on individual initiative rather than institutional practice. That's why it's very important to have policy because people come and go. When you have policy stated that the importance of WPS, so whoever took to be the entire command will follow through because there is a policy. Okay, the way. Okay, one is elevate WPS awareness, like just now we did General Luis Begot during the opening remark. Okay, so the senior leadership, what we call it, understand what is WPS, and we hope through that the commitment throughout until the higher echelon. Okay. The second one is institutionalized gender advisor or gender focal point. We are trying also to put a paper, so we do hope that we have the gender advisor unit. Gender advisor unit meaning that you have by itself the what we call it position for that one. Like now what we call it Women Development Committee is like gender focus cell is secondary task. So it's not what we call it more importance than the gender advisor. So we do hope with this gender advisor unit who can what we call it look after our career development, especially on women. Okay. The third one is actually the career pathway and leadership opportunities. Increasing women present in decision-making roles and defining clearer career structure will strengthen long-term institutional capacity. This is actually to support the gender advisor unit. The fourth one is actually comprehensive training. WPS must be integrated into military education, exercise, planning process and operational preparation. Awareness alone is not enough. Personnel must know how to apply it. Okay, the fifth one is actually expand operational role. Women should have broader participation in active operation, including field deployment, where capability and mission require support. The sixth one is actually to ensure inclusive environment. Safe, supportive, and structurally inclusive workplace are necessary if personnel are to contribute fully and effectively. The last one is strengthen partnership. We do have with the Kingston Leadership Incorporation, our ASEAN member, and the UN Women and the wider global WPS framework. This allows Malaysia and the Malaysian Armed Forces to remain connected to evolving best practice and regional cooperation. So overall, the way forward is about moving from intention to institutionalization. WPS becomes sustainable when it embedded in a leadership structures, training, and operation. Okay, conclusion. Okay, it looks like a female officer leading in a mission area which command present competition and competence and additional operational perspective. But actually is gaining trust that other what we call it male counterpart cannot present in the society. And last, it looks like a force that is inclusive, credible, and mission ready. The closing statement of this WPS is operational strength. It is a strategic necessity. And WPS cannot be separate from the mission readiness. It contributes to mission readiness. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Brigadier General Dr. Norma, for that insightful thoughts. Next, allow me to introduce our third speaker, Brigadier General Datuk Fazila Abdullah, retired, is the first women pilot in the Royal Malaysian Air Force and is a pioneering leader in Malaysia's defence community. During her service in the military, she has helped initiate early discussions on WPS agenda within the Malaysian Armed Forces and works closely with international partners including the Canadian Kingston Leadership Training and the US Office of Defence Cooperation. Today, she continues to advocate the advancement of women in leadership and security, supporting the implementation of Malaysians' NAP on WPS, while mentoring the next generation of women leaders. As she boldly puts it, WPS agenda reminds us that security is not defined by strength alone, but by inclusion, dignity, and courage to open doors to those who come after us. And with that, please welcome Datuk.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good afternoon all. Okay, we have heard what is WPS is and how it's applied in operation. So today, I'll go straight into the question that matters. Where does WPS actually fits within the armed forces? When we talk about WPS, many assume it is about women. But in reality, WPS is about how we operate better as a force, because modern security challenges are no longer just about firepower. They are about people, perception, trust, and influence. And if we ignore this dimension, we're only doing half the job. So the real issue is not really policy, the real issue is implementation. When we first introduced WPS in the armed forces about 5 years ago, the reaction were mixed. Some supported it, some questioned it, some even asked, is this even military? Today, with the existing National Action Plan on WPS and increasing momentum at ASEAN level, yes, we see progress. But let us be honest, the challenge was never the policy. The challenge was the mindset. I say this from experience. When I first joined the Air Force as a pilot, the system was not ready. There's no facilities, no structure, no clear understanding on how women fits into operation. Over time, we adapted. We learned and had to grow into the system. And the system had to grow with us because capability evolved with reality. And today, WPS is part of that evolution. Therefore, if we position it wrongly, the WPS will remain as a concept, never a capability. WPS is not a standalone initiative. It is not an add-in. It must be embedded in how the armed forces think, operate, and lead. Because if WPS sits outside the system, it will always be treated as optional. Okay, allow me to share a simple way to position WPS. Think of it as a framework at the core of the armed forces, supported by our 4 key pillars. Okay, at the center, this is where WPS sit. No, not outside the system, but at the core, protected and reinforced by how we lead, operate, train, and build culture. Pillar 1, leadership and command. It starts from the top. When women are involved in planning and command, we bring diverse perspectives into decision making. This is not about representation for the sake of numbers. This is about better decision, better outcome. Next, operation and mission. We have heard from Dr. Noma on operation. We know this female personnel often enhance community engagement, access to local population, and intelligence gathering. In modern conflict, understanding people is just as important as controlling the terrain. WPS strengthens this capability. Third, training and doctrine. If WPS is only discussed in seminar and in conference, it will never take root. It must be embedded into military education, planning process, doctrine, and exercises. Because what we train is what we execute. If WPS is not part of how we plan and train, it will never appear in operation. Final is the institutional culture. This is the hardest but the most critical. A culture where talent is recognized, respect is practiced, opportunities are fair. A strong culture ensures talent or capability is not wasted. When I first became female pilot, there were so many restrictions, rules, and many limitations. But today, I say this with pride. We have, in fact, 6 female commanding officers at flying training school and flying squadron. We have women in plan and development shaping the strategic planning for the Air Force. And even the Air Force material who manage resources and finance for the Air Force is a woman. This did not happen overnight. Okay? It happened because the institutional evolved and because the leaders choose capability over category. When abandoned properly, WPS is not a burden. It is a force multiplier. Policy do not change institution. People do. Implementation does. If WPS remains in documents, in conference, in nice speeches, then we have failed. Let me be clear. WPS does not weaken the armed forces. It strengthens how we operate by gaining trust on ground, by strengthening protection of the civilian, and to enhance mission effectiveness. But capability alone is not enough. It must be translated into action. Because every meaningful change begins with discomfort, and process begins with change. Begins with courage. Policy may open the doors, but implementation allows others to walk through it. Let us build an armed forces where strength is matched with professionalism, authority is balanced with respect, capability is strengthened through inclusion. WPS is not about making the armed forces less military. It is about making the armed forces more effective, more inclusive, and better prepared for modern security challenges. So the real question is no longer does WPS belongs in the armed forces? That question is already answered. The real question is how seriously we choose how seriously are we willing to implement it? Because in the end, WPS is not about women. WPS is about better security. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dato'. And thank you all the panels for your beautifully complementing presentations, bringing together from the concept to what the resistance that we are tackling, the benefits of WPS and how we want to translate it. Initially, I had prepared so many questions, but I must say you have managed to knock out most of my questions. So, and because of that, you've got me all geared up. So if I may start with the first question before I pass the questions to the floor. So as someone all excited about WPS, what is one immediate step that I can take when I go back to my unit tomorrow? No, yes.
Hello. Okay. The first thing is you yourself have to project and portray yourself to them, because and then slowly and talk to your leaders, because like when we first built up the committee members, we were lucky. Because at that time the CDF was Tan Sri Effendi, and he has worked with me and he knows how we work, so it's easy. So now you have to establish contact with your bosses, because now it has to start from the boss. So once the boss has confidence in you, then it's easier to go down.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Norma, anything to add?
Okay, being a psychiatrist, I can't run away from talking from psychiatry or psychological perspective. So one thing that you can do is something that within your control. If you want to do something successfully, you cannot start with other people. You must start with yourself. So if you want to have some suggestion of what you're supposed to do, having a self perspective of what are you doing, what are the purpose of your action, why you are doing this way, why you are thinking this way, why you make this kind of decision, is the first step, so that you can move further. Either that decision is valid, appropriate, or relevant to the need of your probably department or even your daily works. That's from my perspective.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm a doctor, I think, who works with the army for more than half of my service. I should say that WPS not only for the woman. A lot of them will ask, WPS, ma'am, this is only for the woman. WPS is actually, you enhance the mission effectiveness, and it's not something we are trying to take the man position. It's actually we enhance the mission, we enhance the mission ready. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Any burning questions from the floor? Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Does it
Hi,
work?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We hear you loud and clear.
Hello. I would love to hear from any of you if you can provide or think of a good example where a gender perspective in ops or considerations of WPS issues changed the way in which your commander or yourself dealt with the mission. You have a tremendous amount of operational experience. I'd like to hear from your perspective, how this brought value to your missions. Thank you.
Maybe this is for Dr. Norma or Dato'. How did this WPS bring value to your missions, ma'am?
Okay, for my side, I think because when being the first, my my will was always to prove them wrong. Okay, like when I was first posted into plans and development, can you imagine at the HR at the board when they were talking about position, somebody was mentioning, can we put Fazilah there because she's a female, because you have to deal with the contractor and project and so ever. So the chief at that time said, never mind, we try her out for 6 months. If she cannot do it, we change her out, right? You think when I found out about that discussion, you think I want to keep quiet? Of course, I want to prove to them that they are wrong. So there are a lot of things that I do. I make sure I keep, I make sure that I keep up with all the job. You guess how long I'm there in the plans and development? 10 years. Okay. So I think, and there's so many things like or even come with flying, like the first time when I'm sure any pilot will give the same thing. When the first time they become an aircraft captain, they fly a passenger, all those passengers look as if they want to jump out from the aircraft, right? But you just do your work, you don't have to not prove to them, but you just do your work as it is. And after that, once they know that you are capable to do it, then they will just accept you as one of them. Unfortunately, I never get involved with any of the truly military mission. I think I need to talk to them.
Hello.
Boleh. It's okay.
Okay. When I first deployed, there was this one. It was way back 2008. At the time, we don't really understand what is WPS. I was challenged by the chief of army at the time to be the commander of the medical unit. I said, why me? And why you need, percentage of lady to be deployed? I don't understand about WPS, and it's not that strong enough. It's not that much information about WPS at the time. Slowly, when I come back, I understand what is the importance of why female have to deploy in certain mission. One is actually to, I can divide this one to the host country itself and among the team site, what we call it, among your friend in the team site. Okay, the first actually one, for example, in the mentioned area in the MINOSO itself, they have a special, they call it confident building measure program, which is, this is actually a program combined with the UNHCR, bringing the, what we call it, the refugee from the other side to see their family on the other side. Okay, this is a true, what we call it, condition when this traditional Muslim country, they not allow other men involved with their what we call it, exchange program. They only allow nurses and female doctors. And this is true, I think, because some population they are not allow other people, I mean, the different gender to be close to you. Okay, and that is one. With that, now I understand there is accessibility towards the host population among the military in the team side itself. Okay, the need of having a token of female is very important, because I think those days I think reported a lot of prostitution and maybe sexual abuse among the observers and the local population. So with a token of female observer, or what we call it, female contingent, actually reduce this kind of what we call it, unwanted unwanted behavior. Okay, and then also in Malaysia, back in Malaysia, especially we have this flood crisis every year. Okay, um, um, in emergency, yes, I think it's very easy to have the male doctors to just help them in the emergencies. But after I mean, during the recovery period of flood area, I think they're not allowed a man to go to their house to help them if they are alone. So we need this female personnel to help in this what we call it deployment. Okay, and uh, like even in the what we call it flood centers, now we have also engagement with the NGOs. Okay, the shelters also, when you want to go to the toilet, if it's not enough, a simple one like light and all and everything, so we need the female personnel or female to help in this kind of situation. Okay, that's for me is important to increase the mission effectiveness or the readiness in this kind of situation.
Okay, maybe I would like to add on a bit on not on a real military mission, but for example, I'm giving this mission of making this symposium. All right, so we are working with new committee members because the committee members was developed to organize this event. I'm talking about just an event. So there are a mix of professionals. We have engineers, we have doctors, we have dentists, we have people from education. So this different perspective given are better ideas, but still a challenge when we are about understanding the different perspective of different people. We are talking about women here. We're not talking about men. Even within the women, there are different perspective, different opinion, different way of thinking that we need to come into conclusion. Like understanding people is one thing that I learned from WPS agenda here. So understanding every people's perspective is even not in the military combat mission. It is also important. That's my very recent experience.
Thank you, ma'am. Does that answer your question, ma'am? Thank you. I find that very interesting, ma'am, when you mentioned that, because I guess it's not just the mindset that's a problem. I think it's also the ease of doing things with people that you are already comfortable with. Like when you do it with the people that have the same mindset as you, you assume that it will go smoothly, better, faster, and it's more comfortable, I guess, less friction. But that's where ideas...
Assumption, yeah. So that's what we went through in our organization. The whole assumption is belief as real.
Any other questions from the floor? Oh, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Yang bagi Datuk, ma'ams, I would like to kindly share one observation and continue with the question. In one of the slides from Dr. Normah just now, encapsulates the WPS MAF operations, stating that the enablers, women's operational enablers only focuses on commanders, medical specialists, logisticians, and peace building. As an intelligence officer, as one of the combat support role and also combat service support roles, I think we also contribute to the WPS MAF operations, in which it should also be mentioned in our doctrine, maybe. Yeah, so because the intelligence is also part of the peacekeeping missions. So just for us to align with the strategic direction, the challenges that you have already outlined, in which we need to increase the quota, we need to expand all the recruitments and all, it's a little bit disaligned with the roles and what we want. So in my observation, maybe we could enhance our roles in order to promote, and then we can only have the attention from the stakeholders for us to resolute any other implications and challenges that we have. So I hope my observation that we can enhance on the women's MAF operations. In regards to that, having to be here today, I realized the role of WPS does not only involves external support, because I see we are actually contributing towards HADR, humanitarian, and all sort of external supports. If WPS continues to be demonstrated mainly through external engagements like HADR and community outreach, how do we prevent it from being perceived as a soft or secondary function? And what concrete steps are required to embed it into core areas such as operational planning, intelligence, and combat support within the Malaysian Armed Forces, in which how does the framework, the WPS framework and tool, can be a success internally, whereas we have already contributed more externally? So that's my question. Thank you.
Very interesting question, ma'am, and very in-depth observation on your part. Which of our panels want to take this? All right, thank you, Dato'.
Okay, just I think I would like to refer back to,
Can we see Dato's slide, please?
yeah, the diagram, I think the slide number 3. Yeah, here I think it says, it's already, see, WPS has to sit in the center. It has to start from the top, from leadership. Then only you have the different perspective. And in operation, you have to, we already said that we must involve the operation, and actually the most the important one is the training and doctrine, because we have to embed the WPS in the training. As far as I know now, only Malaysian Peacekeeping Center in Port Dickson is doing the course, but it's not. It's only selected people are going. No, we must be part of our doctrine and training. Like I said, what we train is what we execute. If we don't plan and we don't train what WPS, it will never enter operation. Okay, and of course, from there we have the culture, the institutional culture, and because we have to start from leadership. Like I said, the CEOs and then like General Mac as a cost material, they are there because the leader at the top saw the capability over the category. That means it has to start from the top, and that's why I said that's why I said when you ask just now, Dr. Sophia, you should, when you go back, you not promote WPS, but you work as hard as possible to your boss, and your boss knows you, and when you go up, then he know, yeah, Sophia, she is a good worker. He won't think her as a woman. That's what happened to all the CEOs, because when they were in squadron, when they were flying, they have proven their capability. So now, what I can see, I'm sorry to say this, in the army, for example, the women are not given the chance to go to the to go to the operation duties. The Air Force, at least the Navy, they have a sea woman. Okay, so if they are given the chance to go into, and of course, at the preliminary, there will be a lot of challenges, of course, but give time. In fact, when we first joined as a lady pilot, it was only after 6 years we had the second batch. Okay, so give the girls, give the woman chance to try it out, and I'm sure then the leader will see, and because your boss will grow up with you, and he will accept the woman. Yeah.
Answer this. Okay. We actually are developing the policy on this WPS for the military, not only for the sorry to say, not only for the health services. We actually across the all corps. No? If you can see now, a lot of, I mean, a few COs come from the other corps, like the signals, like the intelligence. Sorry, I don't mention it, but we embedded this thing inside this policy. Okay. And this actually committee, the Women's Development Committee, also act like a gender focal point for WPS. So this is actually a platform to have us inside the what we call it in the military, to have seen. We came all the way, you know. We have this actually the gender perspectives way back in 2012. To have this kind of symposium, it took us and thank you for the KLT for the for the support. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy task. If you are I mean being in the like in the army, to have I mean a woman, what we call it, leaders, it's not an easy task, you know. They will say, oh, doctor, you want to be a panglima when they when you want, when you said about WPS. So, but this is an opportunity for me because I think it's a professional things, so I can go through and just what we call it, knock the door of these people. So I want this policy to be embedded first, okay? Because we already trying to put this one way back in early 2010, but we can't manage things, you know. So at least when we start, then maybe that's why we need this gender advisor thing, okay? So this is maybe open to all the services. So maybe as professional, we lead first, then we'll give it to you. I don't agree with the threat. This threat, yes, only among the countries you see only what we call it linear war. Now, a threat is actually become very complex. It can be war with this what we call it cybersecurity threats, a lot of things. Um, uh, I'm so sorry, just now I don't mention, but a lot of what we call it is very complex. Can be even the pandemics. It can be a threat to the security. So not like those days. It's a war between two countries. It involves the population, the civilian as well. So this one must be taken to account. That's why we are developing this policy, and we do hope that this policy can go far. This actually seminar supposed to be launched like Dr. Dato' Amir said this morning, supposed to be launching of the WPS policy for Malaysian Armed Forces. But because it started off the, remember the percentage of military more in the Ministry of Defence. So we do hope that we start with the armed forces first, which I got to put this paper first. If we manage to have this policy paper, then we can go to be the policy on the defense, what we call it, ministry. I hope this one answer your question.
maybe we should look at WPS as something to measure our performance now. Like, you know, like I did mention earlier, checking on, does the current policy support our ways of doing things, support our aim or the purpose of our organization, the daily tasks of our daily tasks, and also because sometimes because the default system, we tend to repeat the same things without checking on, is this still relevant? Is this the best way of doing things now with this current landscape? Probably some ways need to be changed. And that's how I'm looking at WPS. It's not only about male, female, but looking at different needs of different people, youngs, elderly, those who are different, who are healthy and ill. So they have different needs. So that's from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we could keep going on throughout the afternoon. However, time is very much against us. I would have to wrap up today's discussion, and which I hope that the audience have become more clear on what women, peace and security is all about. That is just not an abstract ideal or a standalone initiative. I think we have seen that we need to change our mindset, convince ourselves first and the people around us, come out of the comfort zone that we are used to, change our old ways, and also probably realign our goals and standards to what is current to now. I think being in the military, we are also very rigid in our traditions and our way of thinking, which we probably need to somehow evolve out of. And with that, I would like to invite Brigadier General Dr. Hazuddin bin Hassan to present our distinguished speakers with a token of appreciation. Please welcome, sir. First, Brigadier General Dr. Norma binti Samsuri. Thank you, everyone. And before I end this forum, there's a short housekeeping announcement. We have a small change to the tentative for this afternoon. Our last session, which is plenary 2, which is scheduled to be after the tea break this afternoon, will be brought forward to before the tea break. Hence, it will start at 16:30. So please be around for the second plenary session later. Also, please be reminded that we value your feedback and would appreciate that you scan the QR code on the screen so you can record your feedback for the session. And with that, I wrap up this afternoon session and pass the session to the next moderator. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually, we'll start the plenary 2 at 16:00 hours, not 16:30. All right, so because we try to finish the plenary one at 16:00 hours. All right, let's start. I'm Colonel Dr. Ariza, Family Medicine Specialist. I'll be introducing the next speaker. Colonel Yoshikazu Nishida currently serves as the Chief of Women, Peace and Security Office at the Ground Staff Office, Japan Ministry of Defense. He is an infantry officer of the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force. He has accumulated extensive command and staff experience, including service as commanding officer of the 1st Amphibious Rapid Deployment Regiment and Chief of Staff of the 15th Brigade. He has completed senior level command and staff education in Japan and in the United States, and is currently engaged in promoting the institutionalization of WPS across the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force, emphasizing leadership commitment and operational effectiveness. Today, he will be sharing insights on the role of commanders in advancing WPS, which is highly relevant to our ongoing discussion. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Colonel Yoshikazu Nishida.
Selamat Hari Raya. Terima kasih. Nama saya Yoshikazu Nishida. Saya datang dari Jepun. Terima kasih kerana menjemput saya. Good. Terima kasih. So let me say again in English. Speakers, distinguished guests, and all of Malaysian Armed Forces and supporting organization, National Ministry of Canadian Ministry of National Defense, all the guests and participants here, thank you very much for having me at this stage. I am Colonel Nishida, call me Yoshi. So today, I'd like to introduce the overall Japanese intensive effort of WPS empowerment through the last several years. Before talking about the main topic, so let me talk about myself a little bit. So you can see I am male, not female. Then, so as moderator introduced me, so I am an infantry officer. Then, so before this assignment, I served as amphibious infantry regimental commander 2 years, and after that, so I served as chief of staff of Regional Security Brigade located in Okinawa, southwest area of Japan. Then, so these career, many of my career are a little bit far from WPS promotion things. However, my boss ordered me to become first senior male gender advisor in the ground force. Then it was very surprising news for me. Then I studied, I still studying. Then especially so I have to study, but I could say something from male's perspective regarding gender WPS empowerment. Then I would like to, many of my speech will be about our effort by Ministry of Defense and Japan Self-Defense Forces, but I will put some ideas regarding the change of mindset. Then General Bogon and other speakers has already said, then commander's responsibility, very important, I think so. When I took a command in the regiment, so one of the challenges is how to make the men understand, how to make the men act, how to make the men behave, how to make the men execute, practice. Then, so in doing so, we could maintain the integrity disciplines. But anyway, so let me start my speech. So before the main contents, hold on. I will use a lot of acronyms today. But MOD or MINDEF, Japan Self-Defense Force, SDF, JSDF, my equivalent to armed forces. JGSDF, Ground Force, GSO, Ground Staff Office, equivalent to Army Headquarters. Then these are very unique. Finally, you know, WPS. Then at this time, please keep in mind, or I hope you patiently or proactively to stay active at this time. But this straight briefing, session, very killing. But I hope you stay awake or stay active. So let me read script. Excuse me, can I have? Initially, let me talk about Japanese WPS plans. We formulated the first National Action Plan in 2015, around 10 years ago. Currently, we have the third one formulated in 2023. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs served as the WPS lead agency, while the Ministry of Defense, MOD, plays a key role in the plan. Generally, WPS has been developed in the context of armed conflict, but in Japan, we have also addressed in the activities of disaster response and climate change, reflecting experience on large-scale disaster. In addition, the action plan emphasizes the importance of men's engagement, mindset change, and behavioral change in advancing WPS. Along with the National Action Plan, we formulated ministry-level WPS promotion plan in 2024 to accelerate the integration of WPS in more systematic and robust way. Accordingly, during the period from 2024 to 25, the Joint Staff, as well as ground, maritime, and air service offices, each formulated their respective service level WPS promotion plans. In addition, MOD, Ministry and Grand Staff Office have established WPS promotion sections. Now I'm there. There are three key reasons why MOD and JSDA are committed to advancing WPS. First, WPS directly contributes to the protection of population. Although women are about half of the population, 90% of the JSDA personnel are still men, like maybe the Malaysian Armed Forces. First, however, the people we should protect are various in terms of sex and age. And some of them are the ones with disabilities and illnesses, needing more support in contingencies. Because damaged people undoubtedly expect rescuers and supporting troops to respond to their wide variety of need. It is essential to leverage both women's and men's perspectives in operations and activities. The second reason is that advancing WPS itself contributes to strengthening our defense capabilities and capacity by creating an environment in which the full range of abilities of both women and men can be utilized. Organizations become more diverse, which in turn enhances operational efficiency and quality. We believe that developing personnel who can leverage diverse perspectives and strengthening organizational capacity are essential to reinforce Japan's defense capabilities. The third reason is that efforts on WPS contributes to promotion of international peace and stability. As noted initially, WPS directly benefits the population and integrity of troops. Therefore, incorporation of gender perspective in international areas are also beneficial to local populations. This or the effort to the incorporation could benefit JSDA to understand international diversity as well. Moreover, cooperation like sharing the value of gender perspective with other countries and international entities will build mutual confidence. And this could extend to further co-working opportunities as cross-cutting issues. Based on these three reasons briefed, we have defined 4 pillars for WPS empowerment. Pillar 1, mindset change across the ministry and JSDA. Pillar 2, strengthening the WPS structure. Pillar 3, cooperation with partner countries and organizations. Pillar 4, integrating gender perspective into all JSDA activities. The key point was, or should be, how the mindset among the leadership be changed. As an example, in my country, vice ministers and the service chiefs of staff showed strong initiatives, especially on change of mindset in the beginning, to introduce WPS concept into the organization. Now I move on to further efforts on each pillar. First, on mindset change. What we did first was education. This is conducted in a holistic way, from central to regional, from strategic to operational and tactical layers in all functions. At the central layer, the ministry has required all personnel to take WPS education once a year. And WPS lectures have also been incorporated into any curriculum at training schools. The photos are scenes of various education opportunities. In particular, the photo on the far left shows the Vice Minister's Joint Service Chiefs attending a WPS seminar in December last year. Since then, we have been holding annual senior leader seminars. In addition, WPS education is provided prior to domestic and overseas deployments for training and operations. For example, commanders and staff are educated on religious and cultural considerations. In the deployment area, women's empowerment and related issues as part of their pre-deployment preparation. The key point here is that a change in the mindset leads to a change in behavior. For this reason, education aimed at mindset change is the highest priority. Furthermore, materials required for basic WPS education are always made available on an internal ministry website. Next, I will turn to Pillar 2, strengthening structures. The ministry has established WPS Promotion Headquarters, chaired by the Parliamentary Vice Minister, with all chiefs of staff serving as members. The photo in the upper right shows the WPS Promotion Headquarters meeting held last March, which was chaired by 2 female civilian officers at Deputy Vice Minister level. In addition to these governance bodies, gender advisor teams have been also activated. The photo shows the gender advisor teams, civilian bureau, joint staff, ground, maritime, and air offices, together with members of teams supporting their work. A key point in strengthening the structure is establishing an integrated system or steady ties among civilian and uniformed teams to work closely together. This enables WPS to be reflected simultaneously in both policy and actions. In addition, gender advisors are granted the authority to provide direct advice to the senior leadership. And because all gender advisors at central level are based at the ministry in Tokyo, it is very good for us to maintain close coordination among key entities in the ministry and the government. This diagram provides detailed information on the composition of WPS Promotion Headquarters and its secretariat. The headquarters is headed by Parliamentary Vice Minister, having members of other civilian officials and all chiefs of staff, as well as the heads of all relevant organizations. The secretariat, which is responsible for day-to-day implementation, is composed of director-level officers from 2 main streams. The first main stream is about human resources stream, which covers women's empowerment, one of the key elements of WPS. And the other, operations, planning, training stream, which is responsible for defense policy, operational incorporation, and international cooperation. The secretariat received advice from gender advisors as well as the director of human resource offices. It is essential to have both headquarters that reviews annual initiative and make decisions on the direction of direction of efforts for the following year and midterm, and Secretariat will carry out the practical implementation based on those decisions. This slide shows the current positioning of gender advisors and gender focal points in JSDF and armed forces. Red circles indicate gender advisors who have already been assigned, while red triangles indicate gender focal points who are already in place. Positioning efforts have been activated since 2024. And the positions with blue-colored circles and triangles will be posted with educated personnel near future. Let me exploit positioning of gender personnel in the ground force. We established its own JGSDF ground force specific gender advisor course in February this year. This course was delivered by graduates from gender advisor courses in partner countries. Newly educated gender advisors have been already assigned to each major headquarters. In this year, each regional army is going to host gender focal point courses to develop and expand the pool of qualified personnel. Next, I will move on to Pillar 3, cooperation with partner countries and organizations. Based on the government of Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific vision, the Ministry and JSDA are implementing WPS cooperation initiatives, primarily in the regions highlighted in blue on this map. Some of the partner countries that we try to maintain or enhance close cooperation and mutually share expertise, while the others are that we are supported or assisted or supporting or assisting. Especially in Japan, ASEAN WPS project shown in the upper right photo, participants were invited from many of Asian member states, plus Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Tonga, and Chile, together with experts from United Nations Women and the Australian Defence Force. The project facilitated information sharing on national initiatives, in-depth discussions on WPS in context of HADR, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, and contributed not only to enhancing expertise, but also to strengthening networking among participants. The photo in the center shows a program in which 17 like-minded partner countries were invited to a HADR exercise, where they received training on basic JSDF practices and equipment while also gaining hands-on experience in gender analysis. In addition, the Maritime Self-Defense Force, so-called Navy, took an opportunity of a visit of the United Kingdom Carrier Strike Group last year to conduct senior-level exchanges, including sign-up of a memorandum by the chiefs of Japan, United Kingdom, and Norway to strengthen cooperation in the field of WPS. By actively promoting WPS cooperation outside of Japan, we are contributing confidence with the international community and are trying to contribute to the betterment of the regional security environment. From here, on Pillar 4, integrating gender perspectives into JSDF activities. The key in the pillar is that WPS is not merely about promoting women's participation. Rather, we should pursue the aim of achieving operational effectiveness. And the message should be understood by all personnel. As mentioned, JSDA, in which approximately 90% of the personnel are men, must accurately understand the operational environment in which populations, half of them women, are present. Integrating gender perspectives means conducting activities based on a proper understanding of diverse potential needs of people who are affected differently by conflicts and disasters. It is widely recognized that integrating gender perspectives leads to the outcomes shown in the middle box. Specifically, trying to access to both local women and men improves the accuracy of information required for operations. Conducting operations and activities that are influential to the population while complying with international humanitarian law helps to gain the support of local or international communities. Such understanding and support from the population in turn enhances the effectiveness of before or post-conflict or before or post-disaster activities, as well as stabilization or recovery assistance activities. Military is not a humanitarian organization, but it is essential for military to maintain constantly focused on achieving operational effectiveness and quality, other than focusing on destroying enemy or blocking enemy. Before starting this slide, so I would like to have a picture from this direction. So because so I would like to know my bosses or my colleagues in Tokyo, what kind of situation am I facing? Then Mi-chan, I come over here. She is Lieutenant Colonel Shimizu, my assistant. So coming with me, then she will take a picture from this direction. So let me be chaired next to General Noma-san, then so to take a picture. Okay. Then at this time, so this event is the WPS empowerment. Then I'd like you to take a pose of this kind of thing. Gender, no, WPS empowerment. Okay, so she will call. Okay.
I would appreciate it if everyone could come forward and gather at the front so that I can frame you for everyone like we did the previously. I'm still waiting.
Okay. Thank you very much for your cooperation. And so my speech will be going on, but I will finish soon. Then I will have more questions from you. Then let me show some examples in our operations. So far, I have been striving to making our actions, behaviors more sophisticated by synchronizing gender perspectives in disaster relief operations, international emergency assistance activities, evacuation of Japanese nationals overseas, and peacekeeping missions shown in this slide. In particular, with regard to force composition, we sometimes carefully identify implied tasks in which it is essential to utilize female personnel. Mixed gender teams are very effective in any operation. As WPS-related knowledge becomes more widespread in troops, the demand for deploying female personnel are increasing. However, as I mentioned earlier, women currently account for only about 10% in JSDA total personnel. Therefore, even in situations where female personnel are not available, it is essential that male JSDA personnel possess the right understanding to respond appropriately to age and gender-specific needs. Next, I will show some more examples related to exercises and equipment improvements. The upper left photo is that civil protection and nuclear emergency response exercises conducted with local governments and local governments, police, and fire services. The emphasis is placed on extension of gender perspective to civilian organizations. In upper right photo, gender perspectives are also reflected to equipment. By expanding the range of sizes for body armor to account for differences in body size between women and men, female JSDF personnel have found it easier to conduct marksmanship and combat activities. In addition, the development of cold weather clothing that can be worn by pregnant personnel has been received by male personnel as well, due to its comfortable and practical design. The lower left photos show training conducted under civilian populated conditions during the Japan, US, Australia trilateral exercise, Southern Jackaroo, held in Australia last year, as well as training on the protection of civilians during the multinational peacekeeping exercise Conquest in Mongol. Through these exercises, we could learn many valuable lessons from participating countries. The lower right photo shows capability building assistance activities conducted in the Indo-Pacific region, where WPS seminars are combined with practical training. With careful attention to women's empowerment, female JSDA personnel are included as instructors in the units deployed. Since the formulation of the Ministry WPS Promotion Plan in 2024, effective commanders' engagement with a sense of urgency has made operationalization of WPS effective in advancing various initiatives. With regard to holistic mindset change, commanders have consistently expressed their intents for WPS empowerment at meeting and official ceremonies. Moreover, by proactively participating in senior level WPS education, such as the programs introduced under Pillar 1, commanders set a visible example that has had a positive influence in the subordinate units. The photo on the left shows the chiefs of staff of JGSDF Ground Force directly addressing the importance of WPS to Ground Force General officers, having attendance of British ambassador and foreign defense attaché in Japan. The photo in the center shows the Air Service Chief and the Vice Minister exchanging views with instructors during senior level WPS training. The ministry actively shares such initiatives through social media as well. In addition, when providing guidance to staff officers, commanders deliberately check whether gender perspectives are reflected in various plans and exercises, which contributes to developing staff awareness. The photo on the right shows the Joint Chief directly confirming and providing guidance on the integration of gender perspectives in the evacuation training of Japanese nationals conducted in Jordan. Beyond the initiatives shown in these photos, it is also the responsibility of commanders to provide the enabling environment for WPS empowerment, including allocating personnel, resources, budgets, and establishing appropriate organizational structures. From a personnel management perspective, it is also important for commanders to visibly employ gender advisors as their trusted right-hand advisors. Furthermore, following the removal of all assignment restrictions for female JSDF personnel last year, a key role of commanders is to appoint women with the willingness and capability to respective positions to realize organization with diverse perspectives. Around several years ago, WPS was not widely recognized in the ministry and JSDF. However, WPS empowerment started after that. Both civilian and military leaders at top level showing their strong initiatives to spread the understanding. This movement has facilitated to advance WPS across the organizations. Looking ahead, a key challenge is to ensure the major commands, as well as divisions, brigades, regiments, are able to independently promote. All right, okay. But anyway, I think so all of you understood what I want to say. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Colonel Yoshi, for that insightful plenary presentation. Due to time constraint, I only limit to one question, if any, or else I'll ask Colonel Yoshi. Is there any from the audience? Okay, please.
Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon, Colonel Yoshi. First of all, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Nohaila from Army Aviation. One issue that you did give a talk about is just about the equipment and also for the uniforms. It's quite interesting that the equipments, the tools are being suited based on the body and the mass or according to the gender. Can you elaborate more towards the tools that are being suited based on the gender? Thank you very much.
So, so I try to answer your question. So as for the equipment development improvement, then so now my position as a gender advisor, I belong to G5 section in ground headquarters. That means so our G5 planning section is responsible for fourth generation on the equipment development or design. Then, so in the planning process, so we have a chance as a gender advisor to put in our opinion or perspective for the development of equipment. Then, so I show small examples about the improvement on the slide. Then, so we are trying to put in some more ideas or opinions, perspectives in the development as well. Then, so you might need some more specific examples about the development. So I hope I am answering to your question. Does this make sense, ma'am? Right.
All right, thank you, Kunayoshi. On behalf of the organizer and participants of Mafis 2026, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation for your time and valuable contribution. I would like to invite Brigadier General Dr. Noor Haji Samsuri, Chairperson of Mafis 2026, to present a memento to the speaker, Colonel Yoshikazu Nashida. Ma'am?
Assalamualaikum. How's everyone? Are you still awake? Okay, my name is Zeti and I'm going to moderate the next session. Okay, first, it is a pleasure for me to introduce the next speaker, Major General Datuk Muhammad Razi bin Abdul Hamid, the former Director General of the Future Force Section of the Malaysian Armed Forces. Datuk brings extensive experience in both operation and strategic planning and has played a key role in shaping national defense policies, including the Defense White Paper and the National Military Strategy. Actually, I just found out just now while talking to Datuk that he's among the first person who draft our National Action Plan paper that has been approved in September. So that's quite a significant achievement. Anyway, his work focuses on building a future-ready force through strengthening human capital, leadership, and institutional development, which are areas closely linked to our women, peace, and security agenda. However, beyond his former role, he is also widely known for his writing in Facebook. Who among here is Datuk's follower on Facebook? Raise up your hand. Okay, he's very famous for his Facebook account under the name of Pena Celoring. I'm sorry for those of you who can't read in Bahasa. You won't be able to understand it. Okay. So I have been following his work, and so it's truly a pleasure for me today to moderate this session and finally hear from him in person. Please join me in welcoming Major General Datuk Dr. Muhammad Razi.
Hi, everybody. Everything is okay? It's 1600. It's very late evening. I know it's a bit sleepy at this time. But I'm not going to take you very long. Probably one song of Whitney Houston. So we're going to finish my presentation. So, esteemed delegates and honored guests, allow me to begin by expressing my sincere appreciations to the Secretariat Malaysia Armed Forces International Symposium 2026 for the kind of invitation extended to me to speak at the distinguished international symposium. It is both a privilege and honor to be part of this important platform. For your information, I have been appointed twice to become representative from East Asia to present WPS. So events like this are not only a platform for dialogue, but also a catalyst for meaningful change, fostering collaboration, strengthening partnership, and reinforcing our shared responsibility toward sustainable peace and inclusive security. Thank you once again for your warm hospitality and the opportunity to contribute. Honorable guests, senior officers, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is both an honor and a privilege to speak today on a subject that is increasingly shaping the future of military institutions around the world. The role of women in the armed forces, especially Malaysian armed forces. My presentation today is titled Beyond Representations, Women as Strategic Human Capital in the Malaysian Armed Forces Future Force. Let me begin with a simple but fundamental question. When we speak about women in the military, what exactly do we mean? What exactly do we mean? Are we discussing about representation? Or are we talking about equality? Or what? Or are we addressing something much deeper, something more strategic, such as the question of how modern armed forces mobilize their best human capital to win the war in the future? Do you think so? Ladies and gentlemen, for many decades, discussions about women in the military have often been framed in terms of fairness, inclusion, or representation. These are important considerations, but if we stop at representation, we risk missing a far more important point. Because the real question for the armed forces today, for the Malaysian armed forces today, is not simply how many women we recruited, the numbers. The real question is this: how do we harness the full spectrum of women as national talent to strengthen military capability in an increasingly complex security environment? We look around in the world today, the war, America, Israel, Iran, how the security is so complex. The new era of warfare. People don't talk about strength. If we put women in combat power, then we go back to our conventional thinking. So the nature of warfare is changing dramatically. You like it or not? The nature of warfare do not wait for us. The battlefield on the 21st century are no longer defined solely by tanks, artillery, and infantry information. Today's conflicts are increasingly shaped by cyber warfare, artificial intelligence, information operation, probably beyond information warfare, hybrid warfare, and strategic influence campaigns we've seen every day in Microsoft. Victory in this domain depends not only on physical strength, way back conventional warfare, but also on cognitive ability, technical expertise, analytical thinking, and strategic adaptability. So, in this environment, the strength of military institution is increasingly determined by the quality of its human capitals, including women's. And that is precisely where the conversation about women in the armed forces must evolve. Not talking about equality representation anymore. We must move beyond representation, beyond equality. We talk about human capital. So we must begin to think about women not simply as participants in the military institution, but as strategic human capital essential to the future force. Ladies and gentlemen, women have been serving in the Malaysian Armed Forces for decades. Since the early days of female enlistment in the 1960s, the role of women has gradually expanded across multiple services and professional fields. Today, if we look around in the Malaysian Armed Forces, women serve as officers, specialists, medical personnel, engineers, intelligence officers, even fighters pilot. You name it. They participate in international peacekeeping mission successfully. They contribute to humanitarian operations everywhere. They support complex logistical and technical functions that sustain military operation. We can't deny this. Yet, despite this progress, women in the Malaysian Armed Forces remain underrepresented in many areas of military service. You probably don't like this, but that is what happened. Their participation in the Malaysian Armed Forces remain relatively modest compared to many advanced military around the world. I've been to US, I've been to India, courses, attachment, I've been to New Zealand, I've been to Sweden, and etc. I've seen, to compare with Malaysian armed forces, I think we have to put something to make the women move forward. To many advanced military around the world, this raises an important strategic question to us. It is simply a matter of representation. Okay. It is a matter of equality. Those arguments had driven me to draft national policy on WPS. Even Ministry of Defense, when I draft the policy, those thinking had driven me to put in. Or does it reflect an untapped strategic resource within our national defense system? Ladies and gentlemen, modern military are entering what many defense analysts call a war for talents. The competition for skilled personnel is no longer limited to the military domain. The armed forces now compete directly with the private sectors, technology companies, financial institutions, and multinational corporations for highly skilled individuals, especially women. Even United Nations now, they are looking for more women involved in their missions. The future military requires experts in cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, data science, aerospace engineering, satellite operation, and digital communications. That's why I say the strength or the combat power, which is based on strength, probably has to be replaced by the strength of mind, the strength of thinking about cyber warfare, technology, and so on. These are not traditional battlefield rules. They are knowledge-intensive domains where intellectual capacity often matters more than physical strength. In such an environment, it would be strategically unwise for any nation to overlook half of its potential talent pool, women. Women represent a significant and valuable reservoir of human capital. You can't deny this. When we examine the modern battlefield more closely, we can identify several areas where female personnel bring distinct strategic advantages. First, intelligence and information operation. In many operational environments, especially peacekeeping missions and counter-insurgency operations, access to local communities is critical. Female personnel often play a crucial role in engaging with women and families in societies where cultural norms may restrict interaction with male soldiers. This can significantly enhance the effectiveness of human intelligence gathering, community engagement, and conflict prevention strategies. Second, technological domains. The future of warfare is increasingly digital. Cyber defense, artificial intelligence, drone operation, and electronic warfare are rapidly becoming central components of modern military capabilities. This field depends heavily on education, training, and cognitive skill rather than physical attributes. This creates new opportunities for greater female participation in high impact in operation domains. Third, peacekeeping and stabilization operation. Women today have consistently demonstrated their ability to enhance trust and communication in conflict-affected communities. Their presence often improves the effectiveness of peacekeeping missions by enabling better interaction with civilian population, particularly women and children, who are often the most vulnerable victims in war. For this reason, international security institutions such as United Nations and organizations like NATO increasingly emphasize the importance of women's participation in security and peace operations. But while the strategic value of women in the military is increasingly recognized, challenges remain. These challenges are not necessarily about capability. They are often about institutional structures and organizational culture. Many military institutions around the world were historically designed around male career patterns, including the Malaysian Armed Forces. Operational deployments, promotion pathway, leadership pipelines, and organizational expectation were built on assumptions that reflected the realities of earlier generation of military service. As Malaysian Armed Forces evolved toward future force, this structure must also adapt. Recruitment policies must attract talented women into critical technical domains. Career development system must ensure equal access to leadership opportunities. Retention policies must address the reality of modern professional life without compromising operational readiness. Ladies and gentlemen, the concept of the future force is central to modern defense planning. When we talk about the future Malaysian Armed Forces, we often focus on new weapon systems, advanced platforms, and emerging technologies. We discuss fifth generation aircraft, cyber defense capabilities, unmanned system, and space-based surveillance. But technology alone does not win wars. Technology must be operated, maintained, analyzed, and integrated by skilled personnel. In other words, the most decisive factor in future warfare may not be the sophistication of weapon system, but the quality of the people who operate them. This is why the discussion about women in the armed forces must be reframed. The Malaysian Armed Forces must reframe their discussion about women in the forces. It is not a primarily social issue. It is not. It is not merely a matter of representation. It is a fundamentally a strategic human capital issue. The question facing military institutions today is not whether women can contribute to national defense. The real question is whether we can afford not to fully utilize their capabilities, women. Ladies and gentlemen, history has repeatedly demonstrated that military institutions must evolve in order to remain effective. Armies that fail to adapt new technologies, new doctrines, and new social realities eventually fall behind. Those that successfully harness the full potential of their societies tend to emerge stronger. The Malaysian Armed Forces has always demonstrated its capability to adapt and modernize. As we move forward, the next generation of military capability, it is essential that our human capital strategy evolve alongside technological innovation. Women, I repeated, women must be recognized not only as participants, but as strategic contributors to the future force. Their talents, expertise, leadership, and resilience represent is vital component of Malaysian national defense capability. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the future battlefield will be shaped not only by machine, algorithm, and advanced weapon system. It will also be shaped by peoples, their intelligence, their creativity, their leadership, and their commitment to national security. In the Malaysian Armed Forces, it is to remain effective in the decades ahead. It must be fully harness the strength of its most valuable asset, its people, women, and that include the women who stand ready to serve their nation with professionalism, dedication, and courage. Moving beyond representation towards strategy integration is therefore not simply a policy choice. It is a strategic necessity. With that, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, Dato', for a very short and sweet presentation. I would like to echo what you have just said just now. WPS is not just about increasing numbers, but it is actually harnessing capabilities. I mean, like one of the example that Dato' gave just now about information war, right? I was thinking like women definitely better at information war than men. It's much easier to get information from women. Sometimes it's too much. Okay. So I welcome any question now. Please, anybody who have question for Dato', please come forward. Dato', please remain on the stage, okay? Or maybe you can have a seat.
That was
okay. Any question from the floor?
Thank you very much. I'm a Lieutenant General retired Lise Bourgon from Canada. Thank you very much for a very, very clear presentation on the importance of women in future warfare. You were saying on one of your slides that it's not a social issue. In my opinion, equality in the armed forces starts at home. And the role of gender differences between women and men. For a woman to be a leader, an operator, a combat capable person, they cannot be the only person in the household who takes care of the family, the parenting, the cooking, the cleaning. Equality starts in the household. Is the Malaysian society, mostly men, are they willing to participate, to allow the women of Malaysia to be all they can be because they need help.
Thank you, Wen, for the sharing ideas. Enis? In Malaysia, I try to make a comparative analysis. Women in military, which I have seen in New Zealand, Australia, UK, India, ASEAN countries. You have to give some special observation on women in Malaysian armed forces. Because in Malaysia, women's the issue of women's they have tightly echo to the religious understanding and the culture of day life activities. Compared to the, not so far, compared to the Philippines, the women are good. In Malaysia, we still brought down to the traditional culture, as you say about homework at home. In Malaysia, we have that understanding. Women and of his duty a day, he to go back to his house to do her works, women works. So the thinking of equality of work either at home in Malaysia is not there yet. I have to tell you the truth. I can't lie on that. Okay? We are not there yet. Even the thinking of the who run the human resource in the Ministry of Defense, they are taboo to think of women in the Malaysian Armed Forces. Even the policy, even the women itself. We cannot look at the other portion, so we should like ourselves also. Some women, they are good. They are very professional. Some women, their strength, their fitness are better than men in the Malaysian Armed Forces. But more or lot, the thinking is not there. That's why I'm looking a model. We have to create a model. Senior officers, women senior officers in the Malaysian Armed Forces should have a model. We have that model, but they are retired long time ago. But now, I want to pick a military officer women in the Malaysian Armed Forces to become a model for the young generation to look for, I mean the women's, it's challenging. That's why we cannot look on the policy, it's that we should look on our side, on our shoes. Probably the women itself has to change. I told you, the strength, the combat power, probably the future warfare, the combat power based on strength, probably lesser. When we're talking about warfare, we don't talk about strength anymore. We see what happened in Iraq. We talk about technology. Who can handle the technology? According to the research, women are the only creature who have high endurance. That's why many women go to space. So, to be sincere, we are not there yet, General, because that is our culture in our country. We still think, especially Malay, Muslim, probably the others, they go beyond us. If you're asking women here, they still go back, they have to clean, they cook, everything, they do for their kids. That is being in our culture is quite challenge. It's quite difficult to run away from that. You agree or not agree is up to you, but it's my sincere opinions, okay? But I'm still looking for the model. You got your work at home, you got your work in the office, but you become a model. That's a good model. You have good family, respect each others, and you success in your career. That is very excellent model. So if I want to look for that model. Is it okay, General? Thank you.
Thank you, Dato'. Any other question? Yeah, please come forward, ma'am.
Assalamualaikum Dato'. Very good evening, afternoon. I like what you present to us. Another thing, based on your vast experience and also your visit to various countries, what is your opinions? Where is Asia now in terms of WPX English? Play words like ideal doesn't the same since goes to the where are now based on your opinion in WPS. Thank you.
Thank you for a very good question. I try to bring you into the military in nature, especially Malaysian Armed Forces. Do we think that gender integration in the Malaysian Armed Forces affect our combat effectiveness? We've seen women's 4 years before, we put a woman in para brigades, in para battalions. I think not more than a year, and then we pull back. I see the real, because my battalion, when I was young, my battalion is the first battalion which tested to put a woman in the battalion, a doctor. The first infantry battalion reserve female doctors. I've seen that, how difficult. For example, when we went for operations, we have to prepare a separate area for women doctors at tactical headquarters. We had to prepare a special bath for him. We cannot deploy her to the jungle, only at tactical headquarters. Even in mass activity, it depends on that women, the doctor, the female doctor. It depends on her. Either she want to join the others, the club. I'm quite close with the doctor. I say, I pity you, doctor. You're not supposed to stay in your room. I'm afraid you go into suicide. So you should join a male activity. They are quite wild, but you have to. Yeah, you have to. Yeah. But in our combat effectiveness, I see that in the future, the war is no more dependent on strengths. We have to look on our mission base. We have to look on the integration impact. When women integrate with male, what's the impact? We have to look on the intelligence, how we want to gather intelligence, how we want to involve with the public, with the societies. The United Nations mission show very good example how effectively women's when we deploy them to the missions. So to me, strength, especially for the combat power, is a big question mark. Probably the era have to discuss, to evolve, to analyze. We can take the, the war happened in Iran, no? It is strength matters or the brains matters. In our country, as that officer asking just now, in our country, we are not there yet. That's why today, I'm not telling you what you are going to do. I'm telling you something spark your mind. You have to think of. You have to evaluate. Betul ke? Is it correct that I'm telling you? By hook or by crook, you have to accept that. The Malaysian Armed Forces have to accept that. Women are very essential human capital in the forces now. You like it or not? Because I served human resource 4 times. Policies is other aspects, but the thinkings, leadership is very important. The thinking, the idea of leadership to look at women's is very important. That's why I look for models, representative, who can influence leaders to say women is the essential human capital in the Malaysian Armed Forces. Is it okay, my friend? Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Diana. We cannot hear you, ma'am. Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Thank you, Dato', for very insightful sharing. I'm Dr. Diana, a psychiatrist. Looking at the evolving landscape of warfare, as you shared in your session just now, what is the leadership view on okay, looking at the current the evolving landscape of warfare, where the intelligent, as you said, intellectual agility is becoming more crucial. What is the leadership views on the recruitment planning? Either we are still prioritizing gender or intellectual assessment, or is there any things that change the direction of recruitment in the planning? Thank you.
As I said earlier, the new focus should look on human capitals. If you think of women is essential human capital, very high skills. So the norm, the set of thinking at upper level should change. That's why in our military national strategy, POCAL, leadership comes first. When I wrote national policy, I put leadership come first. Anything to do with the recruiting, courses, career, in our society, in our culture, it comes from leaders. This is why in the Malaysian Armed Forces, women, you need leaders among you. You need a model, a leader who can talk to the leaders, who can fight for the women's. As I said to the parliament, when I present national WPS policy, I told the Prime Minister, this policy is not only for women. Men also must read this policy to understand women. Because they I think this policy only for women. No, no. Men should read this policy, understand the policy of women. When I present women in East Asia and US, the same thing I do. I present women in East Asia, in India, the same thing, the same issues. We got a Prime Minister, it is a women's. They consider a model to the nations. So there is nothing can stop women to move forward, to go up until leadership, higher leadership, because we got a models. But in the armed forces, we need a new model. We need a new model. Is it okay? Thank you.
Yeah, Datuk, just now you mentioned there's a model, but it's long time ago. I'm just curious, who is it?
No, in the Malaysian Armed Forces, when we talk about women model in sport, you can't run away from Dato' Nur Huda. When we talk about model in public relation, we can't run away from Dato' Fazlai. 2-star general, right? Both of them retired 2-star general. When we talk about specialists in medical, I think we got 2-3 model in the medicals. Dr. Noma can be a model. How long to go, ma'am? To be honest, you have to groom a new model. Women in the armed forces, beautiful, yes. Good oral, speaking good, intelligence, and start supporting her. Send for overseas courses. It might be a so-called project. Okay, among you, we have to sit down who we want to project to become our model women in the Malaysian Armed Forces. Because anything successful is happened by design. You must design. Long service, got brains, beauty, respectful, no issues, no social issues, then her become a model. He can bring the young generation, I mean the women young generation, the armed forces, to talk to them. We must change. During single, look like this. After married, you look like a bus. I mean the body shape. Yes. The thinking should be changed. Sorry for the overseas. In the Malaysian Armed Forces, women, when they are bachelor, when they single, they look very teeny, very slim, beautiful. But 1 year after marriage, just like a drunk. Not all, but normalized like that. So the pattern, the culture, you all must change. Even after marriage, you must go for run, swimming, whatsoever. Because I have to go back to the general issue. Because the women got a job at home. If you want, people say you are very essential human capital in the forces, you must change. Women itself must change. Is it okay?
So, if I can correct me if I'm wrong, I think what I understand from what you're trying to say is, it's not that woman was not given the opportunity, or it's not that woman here is not have no opportunity, but more towards the women themselves don't have the confidence because they don't have any inspiration or any example to look up to see where they are up there. So they can't imagine themselves up there. Is that what you're trying to, is it correct, Datuk?
To be honest, why I say model, I run the talent spotting. When I was in human resource, I run the talent spotting to select officers who are smart, brilliant, who can write well English, Malay, and so on. There are few critics we look on to groom them to become our leaders. I face very hard problem to find a women to attend a talent spotting test. There are a few, but they are not success in the talent spotting, especially in the army. Not in the Navy, they are smart guys. Yes, Navy, Air Force, women, they are smart. I done the fast lane test, I done the talent spotting. It's quite challenged to pick a candidate, even the directorate itself, the director of corps itself, cannot send a candidate, I mean women, to sit for the talent spotting exam. So it's very challenging. This is why among you, you must start grooming somebody that you think is intelligent, smart, professional, and groom her. Probably become a director of corps. Sometime last 2-3 days, why you send this ladies officer to overseas courses? What you're going to do with her? I'm asking the human resource. Did you got plan for her? Unless you plan for her to groom her to become a director or chief director, then you can send her. That's why the strategies must be correct. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Datuk. So I would now like to invite Brigadier General Dr. Noma to present a small token of appreciation to our speaker.
Oh, 4 bulan lagi. 4 bulan lagi. Model apa?
Thank you, everyone, and I shall now pass over to the floor manager.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I would like you to call everyone to just scan whatever we have in front and to give some feedbacks on today's session. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, may I kindly invite all delegates from Asian countries to remain in the room for a short briefing. As we conclude today's program, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation for your presence and valuable contributions. You are also warmly invited to enjoy some tea before departing. We look forward to welcoming you again tomorrow. Have a pleasant evening. Thank you. And Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mohon perhatian kepada AJK Malaysia Armed Forces International Symposium untuk berada di hadapan bagi acara bergambar sebentar lagi. Terima kasih.